Hi, Roger. How are you?
Of course, I'm on time. I'm a Nixon guy.
You are an
Manual.
extremely.
Manual.
Yeah, like they say, if you're not early, you're late. Is that what it is?
No.
Oh, you're not on time. You're late.
You're not on time. You're not early. You're late. You're just given the two options.
I don't know. I'm not good with
Look,
expressions.
from my point of view, I can be criticized for a lot of things, but punctuality and sartorial style, no.
I believe the expression is, if you're on time, you're late.
Oh, okay. So,
If
now,
you're not early, you're late.
how have you? Now, Roger, you're amazing because you've survived in Washington since the Nixon era. How have you managed to navigate all of the people that have wanted to knock you out of there, or all the things that pop up in a 40-year or 45-year career there?
Well, politics ain't beanbag, and I have to admit the role of the press has changed very dramatically in the almost 40 years that I've been in American politics. Newspaper stories, television stories used to have to be based in fact, evidence, proof, corroboration, two witnesses saying something and providing some documentation. Today we got a new standard. The charge is the news. In other words, I can go say, you guys went and took a dump in the woods. I don't have to prove it. I can put it on page one just because somebody said it. That's hearsay, by and large. So it's changed very dramatically. I intend to be around for another 20 or 30 years. But the fake news thing, it's Kafkaesque. It's almost like Alice in Wonderland. You read about things that never happened. You read charges by people who are nameless, faceless, unidentified sources, offering no proof or corroboration, just making wild accusations against you. That's kind of a new thing.
Now,
It's also the rush to get it out in the 24-hour
Yes.
news cycle. Things just kind of last longer, and now they have 24 hours of news to fill instead of just an hour. So, hey, so-and-so said this. Someone is they're reporting on each other's reporting as
Right.
opposed to reporting on the story.
There is more of that than you can believe. So, for example, the Washington Post, as it turns out, calls me and says, we have two sources, both of whom said they were interviewed by the special counsel's office, Mueller's team. One of them says that you flew to London you told him you flew to London to have dinner with Julian Assange. The other one says you told him that you flew to London to have dinner with Julian Assange, and you sent him an email telling him you knew about the actual contents of the upcoming WikiLeaks disclosures. So I said, well, the first one is Sam Nunberg. Sam, do another rail. And the other one is unknown to me, but there is no such email, to my knowledge, because I can't say something that I didn't know. By the time they write their story, the two sources have now become two guys who said. The email that they allude to has completely disappeared, so now we attribute to him the statement, Stone told me he knew that the WikiLeaks disclosures pertained to John Podesta and the Hillary Clinton campaign.
well,
No, I didn't. Not only did I not say that, that's not the question the Washington Post reporter asked me. So what happens then is they write their story. Now, Salon, Slate, the worst of the worst, the Daily Beast, they all reiterate that story, essentially recycle with a slight twist. Change targeting Roger Stone or change subject of the investigation to target of the investigation, which is an egregious change. Those are two legal things. But we get to recycle the same story comes out 40 times. You're absolutely right. They report on each other's reporting. It's incestuous and it's phony.
last time you were on the show with us, we were talking to you about the conversation you had with Sam Nunberg, where you said you were having dinner with Julian Assange, and you made pretty clear that that was obviously a joke, as there were no travel records at all that you had ever been to the country that he's in England. You had never been to the embassy. You did, like, people would know this, so you were clearly joking. However, new evidence has come forward that was being reported yesterday. I saw it on CNN, so I know, where it said that there is now an email that's been leaked in the Nunberg hearing or whatever. All the evidence that he handed over included an email that you sent to him, and in the email,
or perhaps an email that he sent them that he said he turned over. Who knows?
Who knows? But in the email,
all,
it says
that's called milking a joke.
Oh.
By the way, his response now I have released. He said, "Great, can I get his email address? I want to pass it on to Charlie Gasparino at Fox News."
So you're still guys
So
are joking.
he clearly bought the joke. By the way, Gasparino is a great journalist and a good guy. The point here, of course, is there are 2 points. One, I watched that CNN broadcast.
Yeah.
Do you think they could get any pictures of me that are any worse? I mean, I'm never going to be as good looking as Anderson Cooper, but these guys go out of their way to make me look like Methuselah. I mean,
That's not a great shot.
They pick the very worst pictures they can find. And hey, I've been in your studio. I'm not a bad-looking guy.
We
So,
comment on that all the time.
Very handsome man.
I mean, both you guys came on to me. So
I did specifically. Came on you.
just kidding. I mean, the point here is that the CNN piece, taken in its entirety, says 2 things. One, unearthed, recently discovered interviews with Roger Stone show that he said that the WikiLeaks disclosures regarding Hillary would be devastating. Well,
right.
those aren't unearthed or just discovered. They've been on YouTube for 8 months, available to anybody. They also can be found at the Infowars.com site, where I do a daily commentary for 1 hour every single day.
So how did
they
you
didn't
know?
dig this up. They've been right there in plain sight, just that they hadn't listened to them.
Where did you
And
get
then
the information?
secondarily, they recycled the whole dinner thing.
Where did you
Now-
get the information? I got to ask. When you said like, "Oh yeah, there is WikiLeaks stuff coming out, and this is really
I
gonna."
got an email from an analyst named Charles Ortel who told me that he had just spoken to James Rosen of Fox News, and that Fox told him that the WikiLeaks material was devastating.
I see.
I mean, you work your sources in this business. I've got to do an hour of commentary every day.
Right.
But I didn't hear that from Julian Assange or anyone in WikiLeaks. In fact, since we're here, we might as well get this out of the way.
Yeah.
I never spoke to, communicated, or emailed with Julian Assange. I never received anything from WikiLeaks.
Ever in your life?
Allegedly
Ever in your life?
No, absolutely not.
Oh.
That's the irony of this entire thing.
Well, what did you guys have for lunch?
Say again?
What did you guys have for lunch?
Yeah, we never dined. Although here's the one I really liked: when the woman from the Wall Street Journal, who wrote kind of a precursor story to the CNN, her big breaking news was Stone told Nunberg that he dined with Assange. This, despite the fact that my passport still shows I never left the country. There's no airline record that shows I left the country. Customs records would prove I didn't arrive in London. The security cameras at the Ecuadorian embassy would show that I didn't arrive, and he's not going anywhere, Assange. But additionally, I provided for them hotel receipts, credit card receipts, and airline receipts that show I was in California on the exact days that they say I was in London.
Didn't you fly to Florida too? And you have a photo of like a JetBlue flight to Miami from London, from LA.
I returned to Florida, so
Okay.
I was in New York. I flew from New York to LA. I did what I had to do out there. I had a meeting with a Republican donor named John Middleton. Went to Dantana's on Hollywood Boulevard, kind of an old Hollywood favorite. Best chicken parmesan on the face of the planet. And then I returned to Miami. As you know, I live in an undisclosed location in South Florida. I provided all of that documentation, yet the Wall Street Journal continues to speculate that I met with Assange. Here's where they've got me, though, and I'm completely busted. When I was in West Hollywood, I did stay in the London Hotel.
So that's like London. That's like
Well,
being
if
in
you're
London.
writing for the Wall Street Journal, perhaps it is. So this woman for the Journal goes on with Anderson Cooper. This is her 15 minutes. That's why they write these flawed stories. And she says, well, one federal prosecutor told me that dined could have been defined as Stone and Assange on FaceTime or Skype and both eating at the same time.
Could be.
Please give me a break.
Who
Please
does
give me
that?
a break.
Who eats on FaceTime?
Well, you're going
Not
there.
only that,
It's like
we
an
couldn't be
e-date.
dining because while I was eating dinner, he would have been eating breakfast.
The
Doesn't
time
even make
change.
sense.
Yeah, he's having a goddamn London broil at
That's-
9:00 in the morning.
And that's just that's just them trying to still make it work when the physical evidence proves that you weren't there. Who thinks that you, who are very distinctive looking, are going to sneak into the Ecuadorian embassy? How is that going to happen?
Maybe he had a mustache on.
That might have worked.
Look, you can't leave the country undetected. Look, there are others who think maybe I was taken by private boat to France and I swam the English Channel. This is more ridiculous by the moment, but it's part and parcel of the hysteria that's built up around the get Donald Trump thing. Look, they need to get over it. The election's over. Whether you like Trump or not, he won.
Yep.
Whether you like him or not, the GDP, economic growth in the country hit 3%. It never averaged more than 1.5 under Barack Obama. We got a boom going on here. Maybe that's why the president's presidential, his performance approval is moving up, and one pollster has it at 51%. No, I don't watch CNN for the same reason that I don't eat out of the toilet.
Wow.
'Cause you don't like fun things?
You don't like the taste of shit. Unless it's a texture thing.
Yeah. You're not watching. All right, so that's why you don't watch CNN, because you don't like to eat out of the toilet.
Exactly.
Now, what do you think of Sinclair broadcasting? Because, we can talk about CNN's bias, but it's tough to say that Sinclair, you could argue who has the bigger bias, but it's tough to say that there isn't a clear bias from Sinclair broadcasting when we see a montage like we saw earlier this week.
Well, alternatively, therefore, what if all the media outlets in the country lean to the left? I mean, I guess I would argue that Sinclair and to a certain extent Fox are providing some balance. People know when they turn on the set or they go to the internet what they want to watch, what they choose to watch, and at least they have choices.
But don't you think
I much prefer Fox. They reflect my worldview, and I think their reputation for authenticity and accuracy is better than the folks over at CNN. I kind of like Sinclair, and I cover. They don't have an outlet in the market where I live, so I don't see it regularly. But particularly in the area of documentaries, I think they do a terrific job.
But don't you think that people know that about Fox? They know about CNN. We know at this point where the cable news networks are coming from, so you can watch what you want. But don't you think that most of the people that are watching Sinclair, number one, until this week, didn't even know they were watching Sinclair? They just knew they were watching their local show and weren't aware that there was this sort of, spin in a certain direction being put on.
There has to be some counterbalance to CBS, ABC, and NBC. I mean, they're all over there on the left. CBS among the worst. They like the blackbirds jumping off the telephone line after one has gone. They're among the first to buy whatever the Washington Post and the Daily Beast and these other fake news outlets dish up for the American people that may or may not be true.
How do you feel, too, now, Roger, about Dan Rather, who's been known to lean a bit left, said that he said you might have finally met your match in Mueller, that you're a smart guy and you're a very smart guy. And then he says, oh, what a tangled web we weave and we practice to deceive. And he was saying that you've never met a decipherer of deception of Mueller's category, and sooner or later, it may be later, we will know.
You're saying Mueller has a great bullshit detector.
That's basically what Dan Rather was saying, but he wanted to throw in some Shakespeare.
Right.
Yeah, well, I would say two things. First of all, Dan Rather is very bitter and has a grudge against me because he believes that I was the one who provided the Texas Air National Guard documents that he never bothered to authenticate and which essentially destroyed his career.
Oop. Were you?
And he blames
Were you
me
that one?
for this.
Did you do that?
Actually, no, I had nothing to do with it, but the more I say I had nothing to do with it, the more everybody believes, therefore I must have. So that I don't know how to solve. But he is interviewed with the young guys who made the incredibly good Netflix documentary "Get Me, Roger Stone," and he told them that he believed I had taken him down. So I think he's got a little bias.
He may, yes. And,
although I'm glad that you don't have any bias when critiquing the amazing Netflix documentary "Get Me, Roger Stone."
Documentary. I mean, look, let's just get right to it.
Yes,
it's probably the greatest single political documentary ever made in the history of the world.
You're probably right.
Other than that, I'm in politics. My email is a cornucopia of smoke and mirrors. This is about the creation of perceptions. It's about head fakes. It's about abandoned initiatives. It's about strategic triumphs. There's all kinds of stuff in there. There's no treason in there. There's no violation of the law, which is why this whole leaking of emails and then forcing you to respond to them when they're partial or in the case of the Atlantic, they've been edited by the media outlet. It is a ridiculous game. So therefore, you have to go to the bottom line. You have to get to the end of the road, which is, as I've said to you guys previously, I had no advance notice of the content, source, or subject of the WikiLeaks disclosures regarding Hillary Clinton. I never received anything from WikiLeaks or Assange or anyone else that could be described as allegedly hacked emails, and I never passed anything on to Donald Trump, nor did we ever discuss it. That's the bottom line.
Tell me the truth.
Mr. Mueller may have to go many hours and many miles before he figures that out, but at the end of the day, proof, evidence, reality, that is what matters in this process, and I don't have any vulnerability in those areas.
What does Julian Assange smell like?
Never smelled the guy. So I couldn't tell
Okay,
you.
all right. Okay.
He probably smells not very good, considering that the guy is cramped in this tiny little, warren. I mean, you have this idea that the Ecuadorian embassy must be grand. When I was in England this year to speak to the Oxford Union and the Cambridge Union and the Durham Union, which I all did in 1 week, which is pretty hard work. You can see those speeches on YouTube, by the way. I went by there just to see what it looks like because it's right around the corner from Harrods, department store, which is pretty extraordinary in itself. And I dropped off a card to the guard, really just to protest the fact that I think this guy's being unfairly imprisoned. I mean, he's a virtual prison in this tiny, cramped little space. Right. He gets no exercise, no fresh air. The only thing he is getting is visits from his Baywatch friend. That part, I kind of admire.
And what did your card say?
Oh.
He said, thank you very much.
No. What did your card say?
Oh, it's just a business card.
Oh, okay.
You ever talk to Pam Anderson?
The phone did not ring, so.
You talk to Pam Anderson a lot?
I sure would like to.
Right.
I liked her back in the day, and I like her now. So maybe that's what Julian smells like. Who knows?
CJ was her character's name on Baywatch, I believe. CJ.
Yes.
Now, Roger, you're also getting sued for $100 million for defamation. Which, again, when you're getting sued, the number, again, it can be an arbitrary number by a Chinese billionaire. He's kind of a mysterious guy. He just because you criticized him?
$100 million. Get online, pal. First of all, that guy was a Chinese intelligence agent. I think they flipped him and became an American intelligence agent. He's not a dissident. He's not a freedom fighter. He is fighting extradition to his native country because of massive cyber financial crimes that he's accused of. This is Steve Bannon's handiwork, one of those amateurs in politics, speaking of guys who need a bath. I don't think his lawsuit goes anywhere, but my lawyers can't wait to get this guy on the stand.
Oh, okay.
He's a fugitive from justice. He's in the country illegally. He's camped out at his apartment at the Sherry Netherland there in New York. This is I think, designed for the purposes of a headline. If he thinks I've got $100 million, he's really dumb.
Did you think that Steve Bannon was a joke and needed a bath while the campaign was going on and when you first met him and everything? Or was it more like towards the end of his run with Trump, did you realize that he kind of stunk as a person? Literally.
Well, I wanted to, look, when I initially met the guy, I kind of liked him. I was on his radio show on Sirius a number of times. He talked a good game. He is, of course, a political amateur. He's never been in a campaign before. He doesn't know how to read a sophisticated poll. He knows little about media. I don't think he knows much about the modern Republican Party, but I can tell you this. He really doesn't understand Donald Trump, who I have known for 40 years. Going out and taking credit for things that Trump did is a sure way to get your head lopped off, which is why Steve did get his head lopped off. I always kind of wondered why the guy was a slob. I mean, why he didn't shave, why he didn't seem to be familiar with soap and hot water. Why he would wear three shirts on top of each other.
Although mask that odor.
I'm told alcoholics are often cold.
Oh, geez.
And the guy, I mean, he just doesn't look healthy. When he got inside the White House, and he didn't help anybody else who was a veteran of the Trump campaign get a job or get an appointment. I'm not talking about me because I could never be confirmed by the U.S. Senate, but many good people, men and women, who worked very hard to elect Trump and who are fully qualified to serve the country, Steve wouldn't help anybody. Then, when he got outnumbered internally and surrounded by enemies, he complained that he was alone. Well, that was his fault. So what Steve doesn't understand is that people are policy in government, and if you want to affect policy, you have to promote good people. He didn't promote anybody but himself, and he promoted himself in 2 books. The first one was Devil's Bargain. The second one was this Fire and Fury, and he made the classic mistake of essentially declaring to the world that he made Donald Trump, and that he's much smarter than Donald Trump.
How did he get so?
Those things are wrong.
How did he get so close to Trump? How did he get such a position of power when he was doing these things wrong? What was he? Was he just a good talker? Did he happen to catch Trump's ear on something? How did he get so close to him?
The largest financiers of Trump's campaign was the Mercer family from Long Island, and they were affiliated with Steve.
Oh.
Donald Trump is a genius when it comes to finding OPM, other people's money. And he was most interested in financing his campaign not out of his own pocket. For a billionaire, it's amazing how little of his own money he ended up spending. I think he spent $10 million in the in the nomination phase, and I think close to 6 or 7 in the general election phase, which is a pittance when you consider that Mike Bloomberg, for example, spent $175 million to get elected mayor the first time. So the Mercers were his patrons, and I think the strings on their money was, you have to hire this poorly dressed guy with no political experience.
Oh, okay.
All joking aside, how often do you think that he showered? Are we talking about like once a day and maybe you're just exaggerating it? Or are we talking about a guy who maybe showers once a week or less?
Yeah.
I invite you to go to Google Images right now and look up Steve Bannon.
Okay.
What's with the abrasions and stuff on his skin? Is that impetigo? What is that? There's just something, fundamentally unclean about the guy. He doesn't look like he has washed his hair in a month.
Fundamentally unclean. You never want to be described on the radio as fundamentally unclean.
That's the story that people should be going with. Roger Stone says Steve Bannon, quote, fundamentally unclean. That's what should be on CNN. Look at this guy.
Yeah,
He's got little shorts on.
He likes to relax.
He does like to relax. He likes to be comfortable.
Doesn't spend a lot of time in the gym. So, Roger, you also have a book coming out now. It's going to be coming out May the 8th, which is almost about a month from now. It's going to be called Stone's Rules, How to Win at Politics, Business, and Style. Nice. So maybe you'll come in and promote that. And Roger's website is stonecoldtruth.com.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, just think of Stone Cold. Stonecoldtruth.com.
The instant this book is available, gentlemen, I'd be happy to come in studio and give you both an autographed copy and talk about it. It's really just kind of the things I've learned in 40 years in politics about life. A lot of it's about politics, how to punk the media, how to enrage the liberals, but you'll also learn how to make my mother's marinara sauce.
And we do have, by the way,
the proper amount of linen to show on the cuff of a well-tailored suit.
Smart.
There's a lot of useful information in here for men and women who want to succeed in life.
Maybe I'll wear a suit next time Roger comes in and impress him.
Maybe that's what we'll do. To honor Roger when he comes in, we will wear suits.
And we'll make the staff wear suits as well.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Suit day.
We should have suit day when Roger
comes in. We're going to wear
in.
suits when you come in.
Let's do it. We can all look good on camera.
Cool.
Then.
Remember this. None of us will wear suits.
We just have Shitloaf wearing one.
Of course we will. All right, Roger. Listen, thank you for clearing that up and for coming on. I always enjoy talking to you.
Yes.
Well, I appreciate being with you guys. My legal expenses have now hit $798,000.
Oh, congrats.
So all of your avid Roger Stone fans out there in Radioland can go to stonedefensefund.com. stonedefensefund.com. Mrs. Stone will really appreciate it.